Hey everyone, my name is Alexa Mason with Grace Cherish, where we are making beautiful and hospitable places. It's a new day, and today I am doing a room tour. I have wanted to do one of these tours for a very long time, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I have wondered with the Lord about different ways to continue talking about home design, spiritual formation, hospitality. I'm like, Lord, how do we do that? And so this video is really my opportunity to share, because so much of those three things all converged in the creating of this space. And so I'm excited to get to share that with you today. I'm very thankful that you're with me. Let's get to it. All right, the first thing that we're gonna talk about today in this room tour are these cabinets. These cabinets are a workhorse in our family. First though, what makes them most special to me is the fact that Brandon was the one who built them. So when I was designing the room and dreaming up what do we need, thinking through function, who's gonna use it, how is it gonna be used, what's the environment we wanna create, I was thinking through that and came up with a plan to have 2 sets of built-in cabinets with a workstation in the middle, which we'll talk about in a second. But then I gave it to Brandon and he built them for us. And this is actually his first time building cabinets. And I personally think you killed it. Like, you did such a wonderful job. I mean, down to just the evenness of and the perfectly matching seams. Like, it's just, he did an incredible job, especially considering he'd never done it before. One of the things that I asked him to do was to match the profile of these cabinets with the profile of our kitchen cabinets. You're gonna hear me talk a lot about cohesion and repetition of materials, colors, or design. And so I really loved the idea of having matching similar color knobs and hardware to what we have in our kitchen, again, for that repetition. They're slightly different, but they're really close. They're both unlacquered in our kitchen and in here. And I love that just for the patina that brings. That was important to me. When we actually laid out our knobs on our cabinets, one of the things that I did was match the cross section of how we place them. Again, it's a small detail, but I wanted the cross section and how we place the knobs in our kitchen cabinets to match what we did here. Part of that is because you can see the kitchen and into this room, and so I really loved that you could be looking into this space and have a view of both and see that connection. So most people might not even notice it, but I do, and I love it. So something else about the hardware is from Rejuvenation, which I really appreciate and love their stuff, especially when you can find it on sale. But this piece right here, I searched for a long time, because on this door, I specifically wanted it to be longer than, or pretty long. I wanted it to be substantial in its height. Our goal was to go from the floor to the ceiling with the bookcase. And cabinet. And the reason for that is because we wanted to maximize the amount of storage that we could get. And so using our wall space is really helpful to do that. In this home, we don't have a ton of storage, and we are a family of 6. The previous owners who lived here, they were just an older couple, and they knew it was going to be the home that they would live in until they died, which actually that happened. They built this home and they lived here for several years before they both passed away. And so it was a gift to be able to inherit this place that they had put a lot of love and care into. But one of the things that was very different is that their needs were significantly different than what our needs are as a family with 4 children, but a family of 6, and 4 of our kids. Our youngest is only 16 months right now, and our oldest is just going to be 9. And so a lot of work, a lot of busyness, and a lot of needs that come with that. So I wanted to design this to be able to be substantial to fit, the arts and the crafts and other things that we use. So you can see in here, this cabinet and then the one next to it both house all of our, we have our art supplies and paper, which Brandon built this part too. It's not connected to the cabinet. We can pull it out if we need to, which we did in case, as the kids get older, we might not need this quite the same way we do now. So then at least we can just take it out, and then we'll have this whole section to use however is best for the family in that time. So one tip, we wanted to have some flexibility. And so anyway, this is the art supply station. We got our paints and kinetic sand and clay, Play-Doh, and other things. And then on the other side, it is where we keep our homeschool supplies. We have our curriculum, our notebooks, our folders, all of that good stuff. What I love about, I didn't finish with the poles. What I love about the poles is that I really wanted something that fit this well without overwhelming the cabinet. I really think these cabinets are beautiful, and I wanted them to be the main attraction, but having this hardware be, you often hear the term like the jewelry of the room. This definitely is that for me. And so this is about a third. You go third of the doorway, which I liked. I liked that proportion. I wanted it to just, yeah, not overwhelm, but definitely stand out. Understated beauty is the way that I think I would describe how I try to go about things. I really love things that are beautiful, but I don't necessarily need it to slap you in the face when you see it. I like that understated. It's beautiful. It's there. And that's it. It's just easy going. So I feel like we accomplished that with this. Other parts of the cabinet. So we have, let me lower my camera. I don't have a camera person with me, so let me just lower the camera. All right, so down here we have these cabinets, and these actually just house the toys. So I mentioned I have young kids. I wanted to make sure we had a space for toys. They do have some toys that are in their room, but we keep a lot of things down here, and so we just utilize these bins from IKEA and the 2 shelves, and we put toys here, and then we also have them in the cabinet next to it. And I like it because of any kid that comes over, they can come, open this up, take out the toys, play with them. It's really pretty easy. So this section, and then in the other cabinet, and let me lift this up. And then when you look up here, both sets of cabinets also have a top storage cabinets on top as well. And this is just for extra storage. Some of it is our homeschool stuff. Some of it's just other things that we need as a family and just our daily functioning. So that's where we use there. So extra storage, art supplies, homeschool supplies. One other design detail that was important to me was that the paint on the cabinets was the same as the paint in the rest of the room. I wanted to pay attention to the size of the room, and I thought that the size was really nice for creating a sense of kind of like a big hug. So we actually went darker in this room because of the big bay window that we have with a lot of natural light that comes in. It was actually one of the first things I noticed when we visited the home to decide if we were going to purchase it or not. And I saw all the light and I said, this is a room that we can go dark in. You know, we can have a darker paint color. And it's a bit warmer to me. It's not very cold. It's a sense of warmth. I really love that. And I love the enveloping nature that, you know, a darker color brings. Now, we didn't want to do the ceiling in the same dark color because I think that would have been too overwhelming. And we wanted to not make it feel like a cave necessarily in this space. So we kept the ceiling white, but we went dark on all of the walls and included the cabinetry to allow for just a seamlessness and a cohesiveness when you look around the room. I didn't want these to stand out. I wanted them rather to draw, the whole room draws you in. Darker colors tend to feel like they're coming to you, whereas lighter colors make you feel more expansive. And so because this wall, when you walk in our entryway, this wall on the other side is our garage. So I liked that you could walk in the entryway, and then with a darker color, it feels like it's closer to you. There was something about that to me that was kind of neat, that sense of drawing someone in. So I love that. The one thing we did change though is the sheen. The sheen on the walls is an eggshell, and the sheen on the cabinets is, I believe this is a semi-gloss. It's definitely glossier. So this is a semi-gloss, which is also good for nicks and bumps and stuff and hiding those a little bit better. But so yeah, so that is what we did here. Up next, we'll talk about the workstation. What I love about the workstation is honestly just the functionality, but then also opportunity that came with it. Now, I could have done a whole wall full of storage, and that would have been a functional thing for our family, but I felt like design-wise and also functionally, I could use this in a different way. We knew that we had a computer and we needed a place for it to go. We don't have like a separate office or anything in the house, so this was the place for it to go. And what I love about that is that it offered an opportunity to create a sense of space, breaking up, you know, visually, which I also love because it kind of helps. There's a sense of cohesiveness because the paint color color is the same here, but it also breaks up the two cabinets. And so it gives your eye something else to even look at. It gave me an opportunity too, to put up this print, which I love having the print here because sometimes people see it and they immediately know what it represents. And then other times people are looking at it and they're like, I have no idea. So I won't even say what it means or like what it's meant to represent. I'm curious if you have any thought, or like if you look at it and you're like, oh, I know exactly what this is. Definitely share it in the comments, because I'm curious what people, like how many people really like get it and see it right away versus how many people don't. But anyway, I loved having a chance to put the print there. I love the functionality of just having a computer. We needed to use it, it's here. But then having this curtain was something that I wanted to do just because I loved the opportunity to add some pattern. And it was great to me that not only was I able to add some pattern that differed from the stripe pattern that we have on the rug right here, where our table sits, but it also, the background of this curtain happened to match the background, the background color of the rug. So it's just those little things, and it added a bit of brightness in a room that's pretty dark. Wanted something that would be lighter, just adding that extra element, also that coziness, that softness. Those are ways that you can consider, how can I add that if you're like, how do I bring in some coziness, or how do I bring in some more light in a room that's dark? Consider the textiles that you have and the colors of those textiles. So we'll see a little bit more of that too as we look at the table and other things. But in the workstation, I also wanted to have a shelf, mainly because I wanted a place to be able to put a big plant that could trail, which a friend of mine gave me, and it worked out, so I was very excited. But having the plant, there's a bowl that we have up there, and that bowl actually was something that I found on Facebook Marketplace. And I try to ask people, really like check to see if their stories are true, you know, when they say that a bowl, they said it was a bowl from Afghanistan that was supposed to be pretty old. And so, you know, I try to do my fact checking as best I can, so I can only go with what I was told. But I love having that because for me and my family, it is very important to have pieces, whether it's decor, photos, whatever, blankets, that represent cultures, people groups, nations that are different than our own. And I believe that's important because I really do believe that we learn about who God is and get to see an even more beautiful and fuller picture of who he is when we engage with and see the people that he has made. And when we see them through their own culture too, I think that there's something extra beautiful about that, because the way that people express themselves and the way people live. I mean, when I think about hospitality, I think of my friend who is a refugee from Afghanistan, and I met her in Portland. And so when I have this bowl, I often think of her because of the bowl's origin. But then I think of hospitality, I think of her because of my experience with her and how I'm like, God, when I think about you as being the most hospitable one, I can see that generosity that I feel like that embodied hospitality has. Like if you embody hospitality, you are a generous person, you're a welcoming person. I think about my friend, and I think about the way that she welcomed me into her 2-bedroom apartment with her 4 children. And I just think about how she would make me biryani, rice, and she would like just give so much. And man, it can make you cry just because I think about her kindness and her love, and she didn't have to do that. It's not like we were, you know, friends who had been kicking it since we were in the 2nd grade, like, you know, nothing like that. It was an overflow of who she was. It was an overflow of that. And I felt like in her treatment, I learned so much about what it means to be selfless, what it means to be generous, what it means to care for someone. And she wasn't doing it for show. She wasn't doing it. It was what she desired to do. And she was just a very welcoming person. And I remember I'd come with my son, he was a toddler at the time, and it was, you know, just coming and being. And so anyway, I think when we consider, that's like one small example that I have personally, but when we are curious about people of different ethnic backgrounds, cultures, nations, I feel like we, one, get a glimpse of the creativity. We get to see God's creativity. We get to learn about God through learning and seeing people and how they're engaging. Like, I just feel like there's so much that is revealed about who he is as we look at his creation and human beings and in creation in general. I think there's so much richness there. And I think that it allows us to be a people, I just want to be a people of celebration, of recognizing that we are one small part. In my family, it's important. Like, we are one small part of a very big world. And what a gift and an honor to be a part of it in this time and age, you know. To be alive is a gift. To be able to just breathe and be present is a gift. And I think that when we, and that's why hospitality is so important to me, when we are present to another person, whether they're the same culture of you or different, but especially when they're, especially those of people in different cultures, backgrounds, socioeconomic experiences, I think that it allows us to also grow as people and to become, to grow in depth and who we are, to not be shallow people, but really be taken deeper as we grow in relationship with others. And so anyway, that's my spiel, but it's really important to me that we have at least one piece of decor, of some type of decor or something that represents another people group and culture and place in our home. So in every room, I'm working on that. There's one room that I know for sure that I don't have it yet. But anyway, that's a small thing for me, but just to, again, to be a person who is thinking about others, aware of others. So that's one thing. So anyway, workstation. So other parts of our home include the bookcase. So when I wanted to put in this space in the room, it's actually a really special story. So I will move us over to that. This bookcase is special to me for a few reasons. One, after the renovation, when the contractors came in and they built out this area, we actually pushed the wall back about 2 feet. This room on the other side of this wall previously was the kitchen. We moved the kitchen to another room, and so we then made it into a laundry room, mudroom, and a pantry. And so we were able to get a few more feet, and after the contractors built that part out, they left it, and then Brandon actually built in this bookcase here. So again, we have something that he created that has been really beautiful and helpful for our family. But it also helped me to fulfill the vision I had when we first came to the house. I remember this room was a dining room, as I mentioned before, and the kitchen was behind this wall. And when we stood in the doorway between the two rooms, where I stood, I looked out of the big bay window that I was so drawn to, and I could look out on the pond, and I said to myself, this is where we need a chair. I just started immediately was imagining I want a chair or a sofa with a bookcase with books, and I'm just imagining sitting, looking out onto the pond, reading stories, praying, hanging out, sleeping. Like, I just thought this would be such a beautiful, peaceful place. So where this chair is where I had stood. And it's just, to me, it's just one of those like sweet moments of reality happening. You know, you have something in your mind and then it comes to fruition, and that it just got me so excited. But it also just the peace that comes. I really do love and believe that it's important for our homes to be places of refuge. I believe our homes are meant to be shared. I believe they can be places of peace. Not everyone has that. I get it. I really get it on a personal level, to not have those places that are peaceful. And so I think that's why my passion is so big, strong, and wanting to create that for myself, for my family, for people who come in. I really delight in being able to offer that. And ultimately, it's not of me, it's of the Holy Spirit, because I myself can't just bring peace. In fact, I bring a lot of chaos. It's only the Lord who can actually bring the peace. So let's keep it 100, because that's the truth. But I'm thankful for the ways that even combining this design idea and the heart behind it, and then getting to see the Lord bring it about in different ways. So anyway, that's something I get really excited about. But bookcases, the other thing I love about it are the books. So let's look at these. I love going to people's homes, looking at their bookcases, seeing the things that they're interested in. I believe that when we look at the books people are reading, or the decor that they have on, their bookcases and things, it tells a story. It tells us about who they are. Even if it's a book that they're like, I don't agree with this, it says something about you. You're a person who reads books that you don't even agree with. That tells me that you're someone who's confident enough to engage with opposing ideas to your own and wrestle with thoughts and ideas. I think that's awesome. But even regardless, I just love getting to see books that people are reading and just learning bits about them. So for me, I like to have books out. I do that for myself. I do it for the kids. I think that it's good, you know, to have things where people can actually see them, so then they come and they actually use them. Just a small tip. But with the bookcase, one of the pictures that was really important is actually this one right here. I mentioned it before. It's the Tuskegee Airmen. And I did not grow up knowing very much about who they were and what they did. And so it was important to me when I saw this photo that I had it and I could place it somewhere prominent that I could see regularly. I don't have any family members who are part of the Tuskegee Airmen or anything like that. It's, again, just to me, it was this, my way of going against this not knowing history and instead saying, no, but I can know now. You know, I didn't know it as a child. I wasn't taught it, but I can teach myself now. And so I wanted to put this here because it's also something that has been interesting for my own kids, especially my son who loves history. And so he can tell me more about the Tuskegee Airmen than I can. Like, he'll say, did you know this? And I'd say, I didn't know, sir, but thank you. Like, I just love how even just seeing something and mentioning it a couple times to him led to, he's at the library, he sees a book, he says, hey, I've heard of them. And then the rest is him just going and learning. And so I get really excited about that. I think it's really powerful, like the other picture I talked about earlier too. So have this one here. I put this little piece of decor here because it's actually from two friends who live in Portland. They had gone to Tunisia and visited another friend who had met through living in Portland. And I won't go into the whole story because it's not mine to tell, but they brought this back after visiting that friend, and the purpose of that trip was for them to just go and to be with that person, to care for them, to help them, to be a respite, a joy, a friend. And I thought that was so beautiful because, again, when you think of hospitality and relationship, I thought, wow, what a beautiful representation of that. And they were so kind as to bring back this, which is just sand from one of the beaches. And so I love having it here. Again, it's a representation of another culture and nation, which I actually wasn't thinking about until now, so that's cool. But it's also a reminder to me of hospitality, generosity, and my friends thinking of me and bringing those back. Hospitality, because that was the reason for their visit. They literally went out. I talk about hospitality being in your home and also out of it. That was going out for sure. A great example. But anyway, so that's special. I've got this piece of art right here. My daughter actually looked at this the other day, my 4-year-old, and she goes, I painted that. I was like, yeah, you did, girl. So I love having that here. Let's see, we have books on books on books. So I like to stack books. And so we have these ones right here. These are different books like that have to do with farming and gardening. And if you've followed this YouTube channel at all, you know that we have a garden in our backyard, that we live on 10 acres. I mentioned that earlier. We have the garden. That's usually what my content's about, but I wanted to do this home design one today. But yeah, so lots of books on that. But then the other thing, let me show, we have these books. This stack is all of my spiritual formation. Lots and lots of books on spiritual formation. Then let's see, we have some other ones over here. These are books that, you know, this cookbook right here is called Jubilee. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Then got things like Brandon and my 10-year wedding anniversary. We're 11 and a half now, so a year and a half ago, made this, just a small little book that my 4-year-old loves to take and read. She calls it the wedding book. I love sharing books, again, just telling about people, sacred seasons. This is a wonderful book that I highly recommend. It's definitely for, I feel like, family, if you have kids, it's really helpful in creating opportunities to engage with children around the Christian calendar. So I am very much so into liturgy, trying to learn more about it. I'm trying to understand more about the Christian calendar and the feasts and celebrations that surround the Christian calendar too. And this book has been really helpful in incorporating that into our life. It's something I've been trying to do for the last, I don't know, 7 years or so, 6 years or so, but this has been really helpful in that journey. And just another design book. I'm gonna plug it because Kanisha did a really great job on that. But yeah, Art and Faith is another book I've been reading lately. I like to keep those up here. Honestly, I liked this little section right here because of this color palette is just, I'm trying to show it. It's so great. Anyway, okay, fixed the camera there. So one thing design-wise, I'm gonna move this camera back out a little bit. One thing design-wise that you wanna consider are ways that you can break up lines. So on this bookshelf, you can see there are books, lots of lines. The bookshelf itself, lots of straight lines. And so what I tried to do was incorporate rounded shapes. So you can see behind me, the sconce right there, that's round. You have round baskets, you have round bowls. Those are all ways that I was trying to incorporate some round shapes that could create a softness. So again, that's something that you'll see repeated throughout this room. You can actually even see it right up here behind me. I'm gonna go up. You can see it with the vase down there, but let me move the camera up and you can see it up there with our light fixture. That itself is round. We got the round clock over on the shelf. And I mentioned the vase. We can actually talk about the table. This table is a Facebook Marketplace find. It's also rounded, which that was for a few reasons. Oh, this is pretty dark. Let me move us over. Excuse me. All right. Okay, so what you'll also see with the table is that it has rounded edges here. It adds a bit of softness, but also it's more of a practical thing. We have kids who run around here, so having something with soft edges like this are nice even just to help if in the event that, you know, a kid will bump their heads in here. I liked having this because it was just a little bit longer. It wasn't than like what it could have been. I do keep the leaf in here all the time. But which is just great, again, functionally. These chairs have cane in them, which is one element that I try to keep in every aspect of my home. I like to have, an element I like to keep in every room of the home. So I like to have cane just because it's a material that I really enjoy. And one way that you can add repetition is through repeating that through other rooms in the other rooms that you have. So that's one little trick of creating a sense of cohesiveness. If you're ever like, why do I feel disjointed? What's that one element that repeats in each room? That's one way that you can change, or that you can create a sense of cohesiveness. I was really excited to have these flowers here because they are actually flowers that I grew in our garden. So it was really special to be able to incorporate them. And when I knew I was going to film a video, I was like, oh my goodness, I can pick flowers from my own garden. So that's been really special. All right, this little corner of our home has the kids' school calendar, you know, that we use, but it also has this picture, and I wanted to share this because this is another one of those pieces that is personal to me and the family in particular. It is a picture that is of a steam train, and I purchased it when we actually lived in Ohio. It was in 2020, or like, I think I purchased it maybe right beforehand, but in 2020, you know, COVID hit, everybody's lives were turned upside down, everybody around the world. And one of the things that became a rhythm in a season of so much instability was that because we could, you know, not really go in places, we could only just be outside. We ended up in this rhythm of going and watching the train go by at a place that was not too far from our house. Gideon was obsessed with trains at the time. I mean, he loved trains. So it was something that brought joy to him, but it also ended up being something stabilizing, even for me. There was a coffee shop that you could get coffee to go at that was right next to where the train tracks were. And so it became this just pattern, we go, get the coffee, go to the train tracks, watch the train, go home. And again, in a season where there was so much upheaval, so much uncertainty, it was something that now when I look back on that, I think, wow, what a small thing, but what a gift. And so I love looking at this picture because it does, again, remind me of a sweet season of my little boy just wilding out over trains, but also how that passion turned into being a special gift for me and our family in a way that we hadn't anticipated. To this day, I still, you know, I love hearing the train. We actually can hear one sometimes, and it's just something that brings a sense of comfort, a sense of it's gonna be all right. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for how small moments can be turned into something that is really meaningful. So that's what this represents. I also really love this piece that is right underneath it. I'll show a video of it. It is something special just because we use this for storage, but I actually got this off of Facebook Marketplace again. I promise I'm not an ad for them, but I got this off Facebook Marketplace from a man who was selling it on behalf of someone else who actually turned out to be a woman of Mexican descent, and she would travel between the US and Mexico, and she would bring different items to sell. And so I bought this because it is a piece that is from Mexico, and I thought it's perfect for this little space, but it also gets to, again, point me to another country and place. And so I thought that was really neat too. So functional, meaningful. I love when those two things combine. One of the things that I enjoy considering when designing any room are the sight lines. And in this room in particular, there was a lot of opportunity to consider it because we have this room, which is next to our gathering room or family room. And then next to that is our entryway. But each of those openings to those rooms has a big arch way into them. So that was something that was unique and beautiful that I really liked about this space. Brandon actually built those arches into the rooms. I asked the contractor when they were building this out for us, or when we did our renovation, and they said no. They were not a fan. But so I asked Brandon if he would do it, and he obliged, and I think it was a beautiful touch. But when we look at this room and sight lines, you want to consider, everything that's in your line of view. And for this room, you saw both the kitchen cabinets and you saw these cabinets. So when I mentioned earlier about Brandon making these and how he did it so wonderfully, one of the things that I had specifically asked for was that they were a shaker style cabinet, so that they matched the cabinets that we have in our kitchen, because when you look into the room, you see that. And I didn't want to have two very different cabinets, again, and wanting to create a sense of cohesion, but also because I used to live in a house that was very large open floor plan, and in those homes you sometimes want to have those differences because you really want to set the different areas apart. You want to be distinct. In this house, I actually wasn't as worried about that because each room had its own clear marker that you're entering into a new space, whereas our open floor plan didn't have that. So with these rooms, I wanted them to be unique. I did want to be intentional in how I gave them their own, like its own sense of character and everything. But I didn't want to have completely different cabinets here than I did there. So I wanted to go with a similar style. The knobs are similar in terms of the color. So while they're different, there's some similarities. And I think that is a beautiful way, again, to create a sense of cohesion while not necessarily keeping everything the same. So that's a tip when you're considering how you are doing your own room. Again, I think story is so important. Story for us, like even in being in this place and making Philo, I wanted to do this video because I feel like making Philo is really what our YouTube channel is about. It's the journey that we're on. It's a slow growth kind of thing, but we are wanting to make a place that is beautiful, a place that is hospitable, a place that allows for people to connect deeply with God, with themselves, and with others. And our house is a part of that. And I think that it's been really interesting to go through this process of designing this room, being thoughtful about each thing that we're doing with it, down, from the paint color to the pictures that we put up. But it's been a really beautiful opportunity to just commune with the Lord in this way of creating. And so I hope for you that whatever room you are working on or space, it could be a classroom, as kids are heading back into school and other things, maybe it's your classroom and you're wondering, how could I set this up in a way that offers a sense of peace and joy and hospitality to the children who are being here. Or maybe it's your office at work. I don't know. It could be your church. It could be so many things. The nursing room in the corner, I have been blessed by some people who have been thoughtful about their nursing rooms. So both churches and corporations, and I've been at stores and I've been amazed at their nursing rooms. And I said, you see me. But all that aside, my point is, I really hope that what you see is that our homes, one, can shout to the glory of God, and two, the art of making them, of making a space, is something that I want you to consider what it looks like to commune with God in that, for it to be you and God creating together. And I think that that is probably the greatest gift of all of it, is the things that are in this space can go away. They can be burned down tomorrow. They could all leave. They're all temporary. But what can never be changed is the ways that God formed me and the process of forming this place. And that is a gift that no one can take, no matter what happens to the room. And I hope for you, whether it's room design or something else that's in your life, I pray that it be a time of communion and creation with God, and so that you remember that nothing can take that away. The thing could go away, but no one and nothing can take that gift of presence and time with Him away. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Bless you.